Hello and good evening. Welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson, President of the UIC. And tonight we're going to talk about another important topic that I hope you will be interested in hearing about. This topic has to do with the fact that the UIC continuously talks about the need to change the system. You'd have heard me several times in different settings talk about the importance of changing the system. And very recently, you saw where Barbados became a republic, and there was a quite a bit of chatter about Jamaica also becoming a republic as well. That is nothing new to us in the UIC. Our very foundation and existence is based on the idea that Jamaica should become a republic, and we have a very specific type of republic that we talk about. Um, right across the world, there are a number of countries which uses the phrase republic in their names. Like the People's Republic of China. We're told that the U.S. is a republic. Guyana is a republic. Trinidad is a republic. So that phrase is used quite a lot, and so it can be very confusing. And so tonight I want to talk a bit about that. So good night, everyone, and welcome to all of you who are just chiming in. This is another presentation from yours truly, and tonight I want to talk with you about the system of governance that we have in place right now, and the system of governance that the UIC will be putting in place once we're elected to do so by the people of Jamaica. So let's warm up for that. Get your thinking caps on and jot down your points. Any questions you have about what a Republic of Jamaica should look like, why we need to be a republic, how will that change the price of bread? Let's talk about that this evening. So welcome, Andre Bonsu. Good night. Welcome, Christopher Stevens, Julene Plunkett, Gerald Riley, K. Marie Forbes, my good friend Latoya, councillor candidate for the UIC over there in St. Catherine, and Damian Campbell. Thank you for joining me tonight as we talk about what it means to be a true republic. And that's very important that I keep stressing the word true, because in today's society, there's a lot that is fake. For 60 years now, nearly, Jamaica has been operating as an independent country. But as you all know by now, that's a fake truth, right? It's Jamaica is not an independent country. So it's fake for us to be saying that we're independent when we're not an independent country at all. Most of our laws, most of our regulations are laws and regulations that were given to us, told, even ordered by our foreign masters, because we have not found a way to be an independent nation up until this point. So we have been faking it. We have been calling ourselves independent. We celebrate Independence Day when it's not true. Similarly, we celebrate the Emancipation Day as well, which is not true. We're not emancipated. And we also have some time ago, back in 1944, we had what was called self-governance, which is also not true. When what we had was a governor from England over us, and then they gave us the right to vote, but that vote was limited in terms of having a governor from England sitting over us and deciding whether or not they're going to allow us to do whatever we say we want to do. So good night, Horace Johnson, Charmaine King, welcome. O'Neill, Cesanor Ware, welcome. Jenny, good to see you. Um, need more publications to take over if we need to win. Not sure what that means, John. What do you mean by that? Need more publications to take over if we need to win. What does that mean? Good night, Stephen. Big up, Stephen. Thank you for the excellent work you've been doing online. I mean, I see your work. It's phenomenal. Hmm? Yes. And Javon is saying, I love Jamaica, but the government sell us out. I am in the US and the vibes here is so boring, I guess, missing Jamaica, to be honest. Fully understand, Javon. Good evening, J. Cool Williams. Greetings, Misha Earl. Big up, Misha, one of our exceptional photographers who has done a tremendous job for the movement. Welcome, John Richards. Uh, yes, John, we really need to win this one. And with your help, we can do it. King, good night. Thank you for paying attention as I try to enlighten us. Much appreciated. Good night to you as well, Tanisha Roberts and Gregory George Smith. Yes, Mr. Smith, I've seen your comments from time to time on our various platforms, particularly on Facebook. So, as you all know, the UIC is a unique political party in that one of the things that we want to do is to get rid of partisan politics in Jamaica, which might sound like an oxymoron given the fact that we are a political party and we're talking about getting rid of partisan politics. Um, to clarify that, I should tell you that the UIC is only a party because the current system requires us to be a party. So we are here to demolish the current system. The current system that we have, the current system of governance that is in place, is not one that we, the Jamaican people, developed. We did not sit down and concoct the system that we currently have and then implement that for the benefit of our people. The system we have was concocted by our colonial masters, the people who ruled us as a colony, enslaved us, uh, raped us of our economic resources, um, dehumanize us, belittle us, treated us in a very despicable fashion. Upon their departure or partial departure, they wrote a document that we today call our Constitution, and they created of a semblance of a committee, and that there were dialogues and reasoning and then a placing before the Jamaican people of a constitution, or an order in council as it is called, and say, here you go, this is the document that will govern a free and independent Jamaica. Clearly, that was fraudulent. Most of the Jamaican people then couldn't even read, let alone understand the document that was brought forward to them. So we know that the whole system is fraudulent, and it's about time we accept that, we own it up, that we take full um, appreciation for the fact that we were duped, and that you know those who were our leaders at the time participated in duping the people. One of the first obvious things about that constitution that we should have all been very concerned about to this very day, and it shouldn't even be there now, is uh, is the fact that the the very beginning of the constitution, the so-called constitution, and I have a copy of it here. This is an old copy. I don't know if you can see it clearly. An old copy of the Jamaican constitution. One of the 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 most fundamental thing in this so-called constitution is that it begins with us, you know, acknowledging uh, the the Queen's most excellent majesty in council. So this constitution begins with the Queen of England at the very, very beginning, you see, because this constitution was not about us, the people of Jamaica. It was about Her Majesty the Queen having dominion over us, and how we're now going to have a set of rules that would keep us in line, as we work for Her Majesty's benefit. And to this very day, we have been working for Her Majesty's benefit, even if they tell you that it's only titular. She's a titular head of state. She's not really involved in our day to day, which is true. She's not involved in our day to day activities in a present way, but by virtue of a very skillfully designed document, a very skillful program, a very skillfully designed masterpiece of deception, Her Majesty or His Majesty, yeah, um, remains a very, very effective part of sabotaging our people and undermining our progress. And so today I'm going to show you um, some of the ways in which this is done and why we have to change to a new system. So may I encourage you all to share this live far and wide. Remember that we don't get any airtime on CVM and TVJ and the radio and the newspaper, right? They're not interested in Jamaicans having any serious knowledge about the UIC. If they find a way to make fun about us, then yes, they will try to do that. But in reality, in the normal day-to-day affairs of the Jamaican people, they will not be showing the UIC on television. So forget about it if you're looking for us to be there. This is where you're going to find us on UIC Liberty TV, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and so on. So we're totally dependent upon you, right, to share this with your Jamaican friends and family. In fact, share it with your Caribbean friends and family as well. In fact, share it with your global friends and family, because the UIC is what we teach. Our principles, our mission, our focus is even bigger than Jamaica. It encapsulates all of humanity, and particularly all of our African brothers and sisters in the African diaspora. So please go ahead and share and like and subscribe, and make sure that you are not missing out on anything that we put out from time to time. Okay, so let's begin now to look at the current system, and I have a PowerPoint here that I normally use when I'm teaching the subject that I'm going to share with you. Um, Before I go to the graph or the diagram that shows the current system and the diagram that shows the UIC system, I want to show you a, an overview of what is different between the two systems. So here it is. This is the overview, and in order for you to see it clearly, I am going to just switch over and put it on full screen so you can see it very, very clearly. So here, the UIC system, as it compares to the existing system, have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 key areas of differentiation. So under the UIC system, which I will show you in diagrammatic form shortly, the Jamaican head of state is real. So in our system, we're going to have a Jamaican head of state. And this position is going to be an elected position, not a position appointed by other elected officials, but it's going to be directly elected by the people of Jamaica. So that is the first step in having real independence, having a Jamaican head of state. In the current model, the current system that we're following, the colonial way, we have a foreigner as head of state, a white lady who lives in the United Kingdom, and she is pronounced in our constitution as the head of this country, which means that's a fake independence. But I want to just caution you, though, that simply having the head of state being somebody from your country, living in your country, is not enough to have real independence, but it's a very important first step. And so the UIC acknowledges that and will make sure that we have a Jamaican head of state. But unlike Barbados, where that head of state is not elected by the people directly, Jamaica will have a directly elected head of state, similar to what you have in the US. The US president is directly elected by the people, and probably not even quite. Even the US is a bit backwards because they have a electoral college system which can be manipulated. uh, in the UIC, we're going to have a directly elected head of state, straight out elected by the people of Jamaica. The next thing is in the UIC system, the head of state and the head of government will be one position. Obviously, this will be less costly for us. We wouldn't be paying, two sets of persons. In the current colonial model, while the head of state is the Queen of England, the head of government is the Prime Minister. And so in Jamaica, we have two positions instead of one. In the UIC system, it will be one position. This is similar to the US, where the president is both the head of state and the head of government. So that's where we have a similarity there between us and the US, and where we're going to depart from the UK model of having the head of government being separate from the head of state. Thirdly, the people will directly elect the president as head of state and government, which I was explaining earlier. In the current system, you neither elect your head of state and you don't elect your head of government. You elect partisan or party representatives, and the leader of the winning party becomes the prime minister in the current system, as opposed to having a system where you elect the um, the head of state and government separately. So the UIC, you will elect the head of state and the head of government directly. In the colonial model, which we still follow in Jamaica, you have the head of state being, like a god that exists and doesn't change, and you have a head of government which is not elected but is selected. Number four, or the fourth area of differentiation, is the people of each parish gets to elect their own independent senator. In the current colonial model, the two major party leaders gets to appoint or rubber stamp senators, persons who they like, without any vetting process, somebody that they want to give a profile, want to big up this person, wants to give them a presence in the Jamaican eyes, and later on they can run for MP. So the party leaders use the Senate as a place to bring in their friend and company into the political sphere. So, for example, you'll notice before Damian Crawford was offered as a candidate, he was first brought in as a senator, get his face popularized before the people, and then later on he was then offered as an MP candidate. There's no rhyme or reason to this. The party leaders just get to select whoever they want. The person may be highly qualified and competent, or maybe highly unqualified and incompetent. It doesn't matter. The the party leader and of the two parties in government and opposition, they get to select persons to be senators by default. Uh, the UIC says no, we don't want that. so so we so we have the parishes elect the senators. All right. So we have the parishes elect one person as a senator to represent the interest of their parish. And this person now is no longer the rubber stamp of anybody. He or she is there to represent the interest of the people of their parish. Then you have the ministers of government. In the UIC system, the president nominates, uh, the president and the executive branch nominates qualified persons to serve as um, ministers of government. The Senate then publicly vets these individuals to see if they're suitable. and then make a recommendation to the House, and the House of Representatives then votes to confirm or reject the nominees. I'm sure you're saying to yourself, this is such a obviously beautiful way of doing things. But unfortunately, that's not the way it's currently done. The way it's currently done is the prime minister, acting like a dictator, gets to appoint anyone he wishes from the House of Representatives and from the Senate up to a certain limit, four to be exact, to become MPs, sorry, ministers of government, and he may fire them at will. So he doesn't have to justify why he appoints them, and he can rescind their appointments at any time. You'll notice soon he'll be doing a reshuffling. He's able to just go to bed one night, sleep on it, and wake up the next morning and decide, okay, I want this person here, I want that person there. So a bit of a dictatorship, very much similar to how the monarchs would operate, and this creates a lot of avenues for corruption. Continuing along, the MPs and senators in the UIC system will not be allowed to serve as ministers of government. This will avoid conflict of interest. While in the current colonial model, MPs and senators are allowed to become ministers of government. This creates a conflict of interest, and is a recipe for tremendous amount of corruption. And the longer we keep that system in place, is the more corrupt our country becomes, and the more we lose a lot of money to corruption and end up with poor quality roads, poor quality schools, poor quality hospitals, poor quality environment, and so on. So this is a very, very crucial part of the model of governance that we have, and why the UIC has taken care to carefully remodel this section. Then there are, under the UIC system, MPs are nominated by constituents and not by a party. So we eliminate parties from being the focal point through which candidates come about, and instead have a very rigid community-based process that will cause the nominees that run for office as MPs to come from the people and from the constituency, as opposed to being outsiders that can be placed there by parties. We're going to eliminate that. Under the colonial model that we currently have, which the two major parties have maintained for 77 years, MPs are selected by party hierarchy or delegates instead of by the constituents. This is dangerous and disastrous, and we've seen the disastrous effect of this over the years, where you have MPs who come from Kingston, persons who come from Kingston, and they're representing St. Elizabeth, for example, Northeast St. Elizabeth. And so after 30 years of their party in power, you see no real development in the constituency because they don't live here, right? They're not really a part of this this whole arrangement. And even if they were, as quickly as they get elected, they move to Kingston and become disconnected from the people and the communities. So again, the UIC has remedied that problem by creating a model that keeps the representation of the people indigenous, at the local level, so that they're bounded to the people. And I'll talk more about that. In fact, the last item here points out how we get that done, and I'm going to explain this in another slide later on more clearly. But in essence, what we have done in the UIC way, the UIC model, is to make politics publicly funded. So you only have publicly funded campaigns, no more private money in campaigns, no more big money, no more control of the electoral process and control of the election and control of the government through parties by those who have large amount of monies. So in the current system, the small group of wealthy Jamaicans and foreign interests controls the two major parties, and by extension control our government. The UIC gets rid of that. We will have a publicly funded campaign that is very fair, that is very economical, and that causes us to have elected representatives that are focused on doing the will of the people. So, having explained all of that, I would love to take a few questions before I go into more of the details on this. Uh, let's see what we have in the question box so far. Um, Russ Shepherd says Jamaica desperately needs a change, and Misha, speaking to Stennett, says you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not sure what Stennett said there, but good evening again, everyone. I hope you were seeing that a while ago. I came back on the screen and I didn't see my presentation, but I hope you were seeing it. And if you have any questions, feel free to jot them down here. Did you understand what I just explained? Was there anything fuzzy, anything that was not clear? Please feel free to to raise a question or comment that I can pick up on um, uh, in this space. But let me try again. I'm going to try now to look at the the this diagram. I hope you can see this diagram very clearly. So this diagram shows you exactly how the current system is set up. Exactly how the current system is set up. This diagram shows. So at the very top, you will see that the Queen of England is at the very top of the system. Uh, uh, Based on this system, um, everything revolves around the colonial constitution and the Queen. Uh, the UIC will change that tremendously, but before you can fully understand our changes, let's look at the system as it is right now. So you have the Queen of England and her constitution at the top. You have the people voting for MPs based on partisan campaigns and privately funded campaigns. From this box here that says the people vote for MPs, you will see where they vote for 63 members of parliament in their respective constituencies. Now, out of this 63 parliamentarians comes a prime minister. There's a green box here, right? This is the person who is the leader of the winning party. Out of these 63 also comes the leader of the opposition, which is the leader of the party that comes second in the electoral process. Now, the prime minister, as I said earlier on, he appoints 13 members of the Senate. Again, these are persons who uh, whomever he feels like appointing. There's no rules that prevents him from appointing anybody that him like into that position. The same for the leader of opposition. He gets to appoint 8. So obviously the prime minister appoints a majority, 13, and the opposition leader gets to appoint 8. Uh, the prime minister also gets to appoint the executive, which is the cabinet. He's able to appoint MPs and senators as ministers of government. So if you notice, the prime minister is coming from the legislative branch and he is in the executive seat at the top. He or she has tremendous power to appoint the majority of senators and to appoint the ministers of government. It means that every single MP from the prime minister's party is beholden to him because they want to get a ministerial position. Every one of them want to get a ministerial position, right? So they're going to be beholden to him. They're going to be afraid to cross him, afraid to object to him because they want a bigger position, a position that pays more money, a position that gives them more prestige, a position that gives them access to capital and access to power. and access to all kinds of potential corruption. The same thing in the Senate. The Prime Minister having appointed the 13, um, they are beholden to him. They're thankful to him for making them a senator. And as senators, he's able to appoint up to four of them to be ministers. So again, they're beholden to the Prime Minister. What this does is blur the lines of checks and balances. So the legislative branch, which is supposed to be overseeing and overlooking what is happening within the executive branch, is now compromised because they're mixed in, right? The prime minister is both in the legislative and also in the executive. The prime minister appoints members of the upper house, which is the Senate, and he can appoint members from the lower house, which is the House of Representatives, as ministers. So you have a lot of convolution there, a lot of mix up, a lot of crosses between functions and roles. You have an MP who is supposed to representing his constituency, who is now also a part of the cabinet, the executive. So how can he hold that executive branch accountable? He can't, because he's a part of that executive. And if he's not a part of the executive, but from the winning party, he has to toe the party line, because if he crosses the prime minister, then he may never get appointed to a ministerial position. Now, those on the opposite benches, the opposition side, um, similarly, they are beholden to the opposition leader, less so, but still so. Um, and because they are officially opposition, and the other MPs from the winning party are officially unafraid to challenge the executive branch and the prime minister. So now you have a forced dichotomy where the two groups are obligated to fight each other from a group perspective, not from a policy perspective. And so the people then get used to the idea that if you're in opposition, you're just going to oppose. And if you're on the government side, you're just going to be hypocritical about the government side. So you no longer have um, uh, an executive board, if you will, with people who can think openly and clearly and analyze and make good judgment and decisions based on what is in the interest of the country. They're now there to fight exclusively a partisan battle, knowing that how they behave can affect their internal future within their parties and in the structure of government. And so their incentives and motivations are not to defend the interest of their constituents, but to rally around their party leadership and to focus on fighting that battle, which then undermines the other areas of greater importance, such as our economy or education or healthcare, or environment and so on. So as you can see here, the prime minister, the green box here, tremendous power over the executive branch, over the Senate. Now, because the prime minister can appoint all of these executive positions and therefore control almost everything in government, including influencing the judiciary, that's why you have a tremendous amount of corruption automatically built in to our governance model. It is very, very unhealthy. It is very bad for a developing country to have such a model. And if any country that carries this model suffers similar challenges, and may only have variations based on the extent of evil of their leaders over the years and how much opportunities they have had and successfully engineered in terms of corruption. Yeah. So uh, I hope you're able to see that a while ago. Let me know if you weren't able to see it. Uh, I see some unrelated questions here, such as how do you create jobs for Jamaicans? So we're not talking about that right now, Javon. We're talking about the system of governance. And um, once we get through that, then we can talk about other things, right? But it's very important for us to stay on topic, and so on. So this is what I was showing earlier. I'm not sure if you saw it, if everybody saw it clearly. Um, so there it was. I was chatting along and you weren't seeing the diagram, but here it is on screen right now, um, where I was explaining all of these elements here and how they work. What I'm going to do now is to show you the diagram of the UIC. I'm going to show you a different diagram. This is the current one, how it sets up with the Queen of England at the top. The people vote, but their votes are really based on partisan voting. The prime minister and opposition leader then controls both the Senate and the House of Representatives, which prevents free thinking and free analysis and free challenging and proper oversight and proper checks and balances. This model robs us of all of that. It takes away what you really need. It's just like running a company, right? If you have a company and you have a board of directors, you do not want to divide your board of directors into two groups and say one of you are the government and the other is the opposition. And then you give the leaders of the two groups tremendous power over everybody else and then tell them to run the company. That company would quickly run into the ground, which is what happened to Jamaica. So you need a very, very different system. And I'm going to show you now what that system should be. So Jahim is saying, but you will find the least corrupt countries are constitutional monarchs and are modeled off the UK Westminster model, right? No, that's not true. And the way to go about this is, to talk about what is the least corrupt country. For example, Singapore is one of the least corrupt country, and there's more to it than just the model in Singapore. In Singapore, it was largely the leadership and how long that leadership was be able to stay in power. And because the the prime minister was very focused on being anti-corrupt, that has led to better outcome. But no, it's not that simple. Let me see if I can see any other questions here. Once the UIC is in power, some positions will be eliminated. What are those positions? The folks who will no longer have a public service jobs, they will now need real jobs. Okay. Thank you for that question, Craig. So, tough question to answer right now, but we'll pick it up another time. It's not so much about taking away jobs. It's going to be more about having the right kind of government and then shifting people into environments that makes better sense for the country. Um, Someone was saying, where can we download the charts? You can download it on our website, uicjamaica.com. You'll find it there. Charmaine is asking, Mr. P, that's what Jamaica needs. Someone talk with the people, for the people. Such a humble man, well spoken. Thank you, Charmaine. Much appreciated. Carby saying, good night, Mr. Patterson. I have a question. What are your thoughts on the idea of guaranteed livable income for Jamaicans? Again, not a question for tonight because I'm talking now about systems. So we can take it up another night. The government of Jamaica, by legal definition, is a state corporation. So that's another story, Antonio. So now let me take a look at the system that that the UIC will be putting in place. Let me see if I can get that up on screen here for you. Let's see here. Wonderful. So there you have it. Now that is the UIC system that you're looking at on screen. Now, immediately you see something dramatically different between this and the other one. Craig McKenzie's asking, is the prime minister will have a 5-year term? Um, uh, we will likely go with a 4-year term, Craig, and it will no longer be a prime minister; it will be a president. So we're going to have a directly elected president. Okay, so if you look at this at the very top, you see that the UIC Constitution of Jamaica is now what is pronounced. It's no longer a queen or any other person. We're going to be focused on operating on the rule of law. So the rule of law will guide what we do. And that law is very precise and very objective and will be applied objectively. And it's very important to understand that the current system that we have is based on the rules of whims. So the law is so designed that the leaders can come up with just about anything they want to do and pass it into law and then enforce that on us. The UIC model is based on the foundational principle that you are a sovereign individual and that the country is there by virtue of its constitution and government to protect your individual sovereignty, which means you're not there to serve the government. The government is there to serve you. And we mean that in the strictest sense. So at no point at all will the government has dominion over you as an individual to take away your fundamental human rights and freedom like they're able to do now. So, for example, at no point at all could any government dictate that you should take a particular medication or not. The primary role of government in a UIC system is to protect your right to your life, to your liberty, and to your property. And of course, one of your primary piece of property is your body, right? So nobody is allowed to infringe on your life, your liberty, or your property. And you are not allowed to infringe on the life, liberty, or property of anybody else. And the fundamental purpose of government is to protect that right to your personal sovereignty. That includes having property rights, the right to own property. And that's why, for example, we're going to eliminate property tax. When you buy a piece of property, you own that property. You don't pay rent on it for the rest of your life. And then if you get too old and can't pay the rent, the government takes it from you. The UIC says, no, you have the right to own property free and clear, even of the government. The government is not a god, it is not a king, it is not a ruler, it is a servant of the people. And so the premise of the UIC model is to ensure that your sovereignty is guarded. Yeah. Craig is asking, how long will these changes take to come to fruition realistically? Would you say about 7 years in totality? Not at all. So in our first year of government, we're going to be um, presenting to the people of Jamaica within the end of the first year a new constitution that includes consultations with the Jamaican people, constitutional lawyers, and others. And we're not tinkering with the existing constitution, we're replacing it. So that makes it a lot easier. Once we've presented this to the people within the first year, we will have a referendum, and the Jamaican people will have a chance to vote on this new constitution for Jamaica. And this is going to be our true Independence Day when we vote for a constitution that is written by the people, for the people, to protect the interest of every single individual Jamaican. Yeah. Everton Malcolm is saying, or Everald Malcolm is saying, good afternoon, Mr. Patterson. You're going to be the people's choice when elected to office. Thank you, sir. Much appreciate that. Craig says, get rid of that property tax. I'm in favor of that. I think we all should be. I'm actually amazed when some people are against eliminating property tax. They start to ask questions such as, where will government get money from? Obviously, that person believes that the purpose of government is to tax them. So Craig is asking, explain what is a referendum. A referendum is where every Jamaican is given a simple question to vote yes or no on a particular subject matter. In this case, the subject matter will be a new constitution. So the Jamaican people will be asked, do you want this new constitution to become the law of the land for Jamaica? And everybody will vote, and some will say yes, some will say no. You will have those from the other parties campaigning against it, and you will have those who want a truly free and independent Jamaica campaigning for it. Steve Lynn is asking, will we join the Caribbean Court of Justice? Maybe, maybe not. It all depends. We'll have to look at the full arrangements there. But first and foremost, we'll have our highest court here in Jamaica. That's number one. And then once we form a proper Caribbean union, which is our intention as well, to become united with our Caribbean brothers and sisters as one country, then clearly having a Caribbean Court of Justice or Caribbean Supreme Court would be perfect. So we'll be going there. Sir KB says, I don't trust Andrew's constitutional review. Of course not. Nobody should trust Andrew's anything. Um, uh, I mean, I don't know how any Jamaican can have any trust at all in this government and in this prime minister when he has proven time and time again to be untrustworthy. How much autonomy will the people have over themselves? I cannot say I agree with you with the extreme sovereignty ideology. Stenet, the people will have full autonomy over themselves. Um, but let me try to see if I can understand what your fears are. Are you afraid that people will do bad things to themselves? If that's what you're worried about, then I can appreciate that. People may use their freedoms to do bad things to themselves. Um, we will respect the rights of people to choose, um, uh, uh, but not necessarily support what they choose to do to themselves. Uh, what we will do, though, is to make sure that they cannot do anything bad to other people and get away with it. So our system prohibits the use of force or fraud by anyone to take the life, liberty, or property rights of anyone else. I think somebody was asking about democratic socialism. I'm sorry I missed that question there. Uh, I don't know. It depends on what, these phrases have so many meanings to so many people. So it's hard to say, what democratic socialism means to you, and whether or not this could be accommodated within the UIC's non-partisan constitutional republic. But this I can say for sure is that any system. So, for example, in our system, if a group of people want to be socialists, so socialism, the idea is you own all things in common. Um, you know, in our system, persons are free to establish a commune, a socialist commune or a communist commune or whatever, and those who wish to be capitalists are also free to practice capitalism if capitalism means free market and freedom to make their own choices as to what they want to buy and sell. Uh, what we will not do or not allow in this system is for any group of persons to take away the rights of any other groups of persons or of any individual. Yeah. Um, so Stennett is asking if it welcomed drugs and so on. Again, you have to be more specific with that. Uh, but let me jump back now to this diagram here so I can walk you through this and then we can come back to some more questions. So looking at the diagram, you see that the rule of law is number one. Then we come to the people. The people are sovereign, not the Queen of England. And by people, we mean individuals. Every single individual is sovereign. Our system is a non-partisan, publicly funded campaign and direct election by residents. This is very key. It's a non-partisan system, meaning the system of government does not recognize parties. Parties can exist, but we don't design the government to recognize parties in any way. So, for example, when you come to the House of Congress to meet, you don't get seated by your party affiliation or your color or whatever. You just sit alphabetically in a circle that allows us to talk to each other and reason with each other and analyze problems and solve them. Uh, It is publicly funded, so all of the candidates are no longer beholden to any big money sponsors because the candidates themselves were fully funded and were given fair treatment, equal treatment, as I'll explain later on in another section. And direct elections by the residents. So the residents now becomes key. There's no parties messing with the process. They Each community elects the persons, nominate and elects the persons they want to run. And I'll explain more about that afterwards. But here it is. You'll see you have direct elections of the 63 MPs. You have direct elections of 3 vice presidents, one from each county, Cornwall, Middlesex, and Surrey. You have direct election of the president nationally. So the vice presidents are elected in their counties. They have 3 counties that will have their elections. The president is elected nationally. The senators are elected 1 per parish. So as you can see, there's a lot of elections going on here, but it's very direct. It's very direct, and it eliminates the control of big money and capital and goes direct to the people. So you now, instead of having a prime minister who comes from the party leadership, the people actually elects their executive president. Why do we have 3 vice presidents? It's a very good setup because it means that any one of those 3 vice presidents could be elected by the Senate and the House in the case the president becomes incapacitated. So it kind of breaks up the possibility of collusion to get rid of the president. It helps with that. So then we have now, when it comes on to the executive branch, the ministers of government. In this system, the focus is on having qualified and competent persons serving as ministers of government. And so we're not going to have politicians being in these positions, but rather the executive branch of government, which is the president, the 3 vice presidents, plus the president's running mates, which are the general secretary and the treasury secretary. They will together nominate qualified and competent Jamaicans to serve in the executive branch of government. So when the executive nominates these positions, the Senate will then have public hearings where they publicly vet these persons to see whether or not they fit the bill. And then the Senate will make a recommendation to the House of Representatives and say, yep, we think this person is fit to be health minister or education minister or whatever minister. And then the House of Representatives will vote to put them in or not. The good thing about this is that it's a transparent process that focuses on quality and competencies. And the president cannot simply appoint whoever he wants, nor can he simply remove them without going back to the House and the Senate for approval to remove them. So even between elections of presidents or elections of vice presidents or elections of representatives or elections of senators, you can have a person who is doing very, very well in a ministerial portfolio, and they will transcend a number of administrations because they are doing a good job, and the president or executive was not able to just remove them because he doesn't like them. It will now be a process that is transparent and which is focused on giving Jamaica quality, ministers to oversee the key branches of government. The same applies to the Supreme Court, which is behind my picture here. You can't see it clearly. But the Supreme Court justices and the lower courts and all the other appointments of that comes through the government process are similarly vetted to protect the interest of the Jamaican people. All right. So let me take some questions now. I'm seeing a lot going and I'm missing out on answering them. But please hit like and share and subscribe. And don't be afraid to invite as many people as possible to subscribe to the channel and to share in this knowledge. Stennett is saying, I'm trying very hard to appreciate the approach because you have said a great deal that I agree with, but there are far too much I cannot take on board. Stennett, tell us what they are. Rather than say there are far too many, just tell us one at a time which ones you can't take on board. I'm crying out loud, Jamaica people, wake up. This is the time to make the move. This is one love. Mr. P. Delroy Thomas, thank you for that. JM8 says, like Nunavut province government in Canada, non-partisan. Well, I can't speak directly to that. They have their own limitations. What I've done is design something which is a bit superior to theirs or any that you have seen elsewhere. What America wants, America gets. UIC to the world. Errol Malcolm, not sure what that means. Mark Cohen Smith, I can't help but wondering why your party is trying to reinvent the political wheel in such a big, sudden, and dramatic sweep. Will this not help to hinder your appointment into office? Not at all. The UIC is offering Jamaica a change from what is failing to what it needs to succeed. If you consider that to be a big dramatic sweep and a reinvention of the wheel, then so be it. We don't consider it a reinvention. We consider it a replacement of what is not working. So, President, I love the UIC Jamaica clearly to my heart and soul and would like to see you make history in this nation. But, sir, I am the Chief Executive, President, Chancellor, and CEO of the... Whoa, that's a long name. I have a keen concern that I'm not seeing where your movement of which your honorable... Okay, so you said a lot there, but I'm not seeing the question. So please send a question. That would be very helpful. Any country that implements the UIC system of governance will become a truly prosperous nation, says Devon Thompson. Thank you for that. Stennett, please follow the link. Yeah. When will be elections? Please tell me, sir. Mr. Wilson, I don't know. The current constitution allows the prime minister to play with that date within a 5-year boundary. And so we never know until he decides to call one, which is another weakness of the existing system. She-Rock Promotion says, if a member of the opposite party wants to serve in the UIC, is that possible? Yes, man, the UIC is open to all Jamaicans. So anyone who wants to serve in the UIC, as long as they subscribe to the principles, the philosophies, the vision, the mission, the objectives of the UIC, you're more than welcome to apply and we'll give you due consideration. Craig McKenzie's asking, renaming the counties. What are your thoughts on that? Pretty open, Craig. We can change anything we want. Any names from colonial names to Jamaican names, I would welcome that very much. Americans are seeing the one-party system in Jamaica. Time for change. Mr. Patterson, you keep passing over my question. What is your plans for the dons in the communities? How you are going to deal with the extortion? Sorry, Natalie, not passing over it at all. Thanks for raising it again. We will deal with the dons by, first of all, cleaning up the corruption in government. The dons have no protection if we get rid of the two major political parties from our government and put in place the system that I just described, which creates the kind of checks and balances that we need to then have a non-corrupt police force, in fact, a police service, and then we're able to implement appropriate investigative work and bring all of those to justice who are currently, pursuing illegal activities. It's saying you will have 4 different ballots when there's an election under the UIC. Nope, you don't need to have 4 different ballots. You will simply have the ballots for the appropriate elections that are taking place. So, for example, when you have an election where we're electing the representatives and the president and the parish managers, the ballot will indicate what are your options for each of these in your respective constituency. So hope that helps. Bishop Brian Cameron says, you shunned my question. Bishop, please repeat the question. That would be very helpful. Charmian Ranger says, I love your movement, Mr. P. Thank you, Charmian. Much appreciated. Kenrick Watson, greetings, everyone. I always like to listen to Mr. Patterson. Very interesting plans. Oh, the bishop is saying, why are you not embracing the church ministries, especially the revivalists, yet you embrace the Ras and the Muslim? That's not true. We embrace everyone. We embrace all Jamaicans. So whether you are revivalist or POCO or Presbyterian or Catholic or um, Pentecostal or Seventh-day Adventist or Anglican or Rastafarian or Muslim or atheist, it doesn't matter to us. What is important is that we are here to protect your right to worship as you see fit, as long as you do not use that right to infringe on the life, liberty, or property rights of others by way of using force or fraud. So I'm not sure why you think I don't embrace your particular faith, but I embrace all faith, and I reserve the right, of course, not to practice any of them, because I, like you, have the right to practice my own religious beliefs. And the key thing for the UIC is that we will protect your right to worship as you see fit. Thanks for clearing that up for me, because I'm coming back to Jamaica. I want to open a business and I'm scared of the extortion. Of course, you should be scared of the extortion. It's a big problem. And the biggest extorter, by the way, is the government. They extort us tremendously every day with regulations and taxes that are designed to be disruptive to our lives rather than help. The church is not feeling your embracer. Well, I don't know how to fix that, Bishop Brian Cameron. If the church is not feeling my embrace, I'm not sure what the church wants me to do. And when you speak of the church, I'm sure you're speaking about your church and not every church. I can say this clearly to every religion on the face of the planet. The UIC respects the rights of your members to worship as they choose. And that is the full embrace that you need to see there. We respect your right to worship, and we will protect your right to worship as you see fit. What we will not do is give your church, any particular church, power over any other church or power over the government to dictate policies in any shape, way, or form that will give you an edge over any other. We believe the role of the church or any other group is to win support by way of influence. You influencing people by teaching them what you believe, and without using force or fraud, winning their support and affection. But at no time at all should the state, should government be used to advance or prohibit any religion insofar as that religion does not use force or fraud to get its way with people. I'm not sure why no religion will. I just missed that. So sorry. Uh, I'm supporting you 100%, says Natalie Mullins. Do you have a crime plan to demolish the present crime wave? Absolutely, Michael Morris. We have a very, very effective anti-crime plan, which includes what I'm talking about today. Because the truth of the matter is, if you do not get rid of corruption in government, you're not going to be able to fix the crime problem, because it's our government that is the primary driver behind the crime problem we have in Jamaica. Crime is a top-down problem. It comes from the very top and works its way through the economy and through the society until it becomes quite the virus. And so if we want to get rid of crime in Jamaica, we need to start in Parliament and in the boardrooms. Will the UIC system embrace abortion? Thank you for that question, Craig McKenzie. The UIC system does not embrace abortion. What the UIC system does is to recognize that abortion is a contentious subject. And so it is not the place of government to dictate what a person does with their bodies. Um, so we leave that question to the individual, the family, the community that that person is a part of, and encourage people to make good, sound decisions, but recognizing the complexity and the views on either sides of the equation. We believe it's best to leave that to the individual and to their family to make the choice that they think best for themselves. Uh, uh, Arlene, thank you. Religion and politics should not mix, says Natalie. One will definitely corrupt the other. The churches should pay taxes also. They're not supporting the communities like they should. Um, Appreciate the comment, Natalie. The first part, I think, is the most important, which is for us to make sure, the church and the state, should just occupy their own lanes. The role of the government is very different from the role of the church. The role of the church, and when we talk about church, understand that there are many different denominations and different religions. So we're talking about religious groups. Each of those groups must just be allowed the freedom to teach what they think is important to be taught. And the role of the government is to protect the rights of free speech and freedom of movement and freedom of choice, and to ensure that every individual has the space, a safe space, in terms of society, a safe space to self-actualize and to achieve their various objectives without the use of force or fraud to achieve them. That's very important. Um, Russ Shepherd, what are your plans on entertainment events, permits, etc.? Very good question. Um, you know, the UIC wants to create an environment in Jamaica where people can truly um, express themselves and enjoy themselves to the fullest with minimal interference from the state um, or anyone else. The key thing, though, is to make sure that in us expressing ourselves and enjoying ourselves, that we respect the rights of our fellow citizens. So this means ensuring that uh, your enjoyment does not deny another citizen of sleep, for example, um, and that we allow you to plan and design your event in such a way that you can enjoy yourself safely without the government levying any exorbitant fees and um, limiting permits on you. So the focus of permits would be based on protecting the rights of those who don't want to be a part of your event, uh, and making sure that you who want to have your event, your entertainment event, can do so fully and completely without infringing on the rights of your fellow citizens. So then you'll have kind of zonings, in areas where you have designated entertainment spots that are away from people's homes, where they need to sleep and so on. So you have it more like in industrial complexes, which they're closed by 5, 6 o'clock, whatever, or they at least have some noise management systems in place. So we'll strive to find that balance. Huh? Hope that helps in a quick answer. Will you be free to do anything you want under the UIC if you don't violate anyone's? I can't see the rest of that question, but I'll try to finish it. Yes, you'll be free in a UIC system. You'll be free to do anything that you want as long as you do not use force or fraud to violate the life, the liberty, or the property rights of others. That might sound very, very free, but it's not. If you think about it, you can do what you want, but you cannot infringe on my life. You cannot infringe on my freedom. You cannot infringe on my property rights using force or fraud. So it's going to clarify a lot of things for people and make it easier for you to think and analyze and make decisions. But at the same time, it's going to uh, be limiting in key areas. There's a good question on how you would go about generating revenue as a government, since taxation can't see the rest of that. We will not have a taxation problem. Right now, what we have is an overtaxation because we're paying for massive corruption. We're paying for a bloated government. We're paying for significant inefficiencies. So, what the UIC is going to do is right size the government so that we go back to what it should be. A government should not cost you more than 10% of your income. And if it needs to cost you more than that, then there's a problem. So right now, government is costing close to 45, 50% of our GDP, which is, just impossible. So we're going to revamp that so that government does not cost you more than normally 10% of your income from all sources. We also have another 10%, which is for the GCT sales tax. So we'll have the income tax and not PAYE, by the way, as some may think. This is not a PAYE tax. This is a income tax. So we're going to charge 10% of your income from all sources, and no one will be exempted. There won't be any exemption to say if you're rich or poor or whatever the case may be. We will all pay 10% tax on our combined income from all sources. That is all you need to run a proper government in Jamaica. Now, there are some long-standing inequities and long-standing unfair treatment that has been meted out to the vast majority of Jamaicans, and as a result, there's a large segment of us which are poor and are in a very bad position. So what the UIC is going to do is we have set up the GCT now, which is the sales tax, which is a pretty decent tax, which we're going to commit that tax to making sure that first and foremost, all children receives proper nutrition, proper education, proper health care, and proper housing. That's a very key thing. So that 10% GCT, we're bringing it down from 15% to 10. It's going to be committed 100% to the health and education and well-being, first of all, of our children, and then, of course, the families of those children as well, making sure that we have an affordable housing program that gets our home ownership rate up to 98% or thereabouts, while at the same time dealing with the environment and having a workfare program and a youth employment program being all mixed into that to give us a comprehensive solution to eliminate poverty and start to create accelerated upward mobility. Okay, let me see if I can take another question here. Sir, one question, please. How do you feel about these crimes in our country? Police beating up and taking away people's stuff in the street, etc. I feel horrible, Arlene Foster. It is horrible that we have a government and we have a country where we have not insisted that the police respect, serve, and protect the people and not brutalize them. So I feel very badly about it, and we're going to change that by shifting our police force to a police service and really shifting to a country where we protect the rights of our people. Stennett is saying libertarian view, where the idea is you do whatever you want as long as you do not harm others. This system may increase suicide, drug use. Well, Stennett, let us see now. Let's see if by us giving people their freedom, they decide to kill themselves and take drugs and all of that. I don't believe so, and I I believe freedom empowers people. I don't believe freedom causes people to become suicidal. But I hear your views on that, and we'll leave it there since we both have to find out. We have to see if giving people freedom results in them wanting to kill themselves. Uh, Malcolm says, how will you address the custom fees on imported? I didn't get the rest of that question, but I can tell you this: the UIC will be eliminating much of the custom duties that you see that is affecting us. You, it's really very, very simple, right? You cannot be putting large taxes on technology coming into our country that we don't produce and expecting for us to become a technology nation, an export driven nation. You're killing your people's ability to export by making imported technology too costly for them to use. So the UIC is going to stop that. We're going to get rid of the excessive amount of duties that is going on at our ports, and make sure that, for example, new technologies and stuff are coming in without anything more than the 10% GCT charge on it. We have to make sure that our manufacturers and one of the things that we have been doing in Jamaica is setting up these barriers to entry, and then our politicians giving special treatments to some people to get around those barriers. We have to stop that. We need to give all Jamaicans the break. Stop overcharging the Jamaican people. Stop making our lives miserable and difficult. Allow us to bring things into the country, to build up our businesses, to manipulate technologies, to create new technologies, to learn from other people's technology, and be able to do that quickly and convert Jamaica into a high tech economy. We cannot continue to have a government that punishes the people of Jamaica and expect them to do well. Houston is saying, Mr. Patterson, what is your plan to deal with loans we have borrowed from China and so on? Well, we're going to have to pay the loans, eh? So any loans that we have borrowed from anybody, we're going to have to pay back those loans. So the plan is very simple. We have to grow the economy and make it a productive economy. We cannot continue to borrow money while keeping our people unproductive. We need to start creating an environment that allows our people to be productive so that we can pay back the monies we have borrowed. Of course, some of those monies that we've borrowed need to be renegotiated, and we have to look at that. And we will do some work there. But the basic fact of life is you cannot pay back your debt if you don't become more productive. And so the UIC will make Jamaica more productive. We're going to get rid of the excessive regulation and draconian tax measures and the inefficiencies in government, which is preventing our people from being as productive as they can possibly be. Yeah. So Stennett says he believes in mixed authoritarian and libertarian system. I don't know why. Why would you want an authoritarian system? Why do you want to give other human beings the power over other human beings to take away their rights? That is just diabolical. We must, as a people, start to love and respect freedom. There are many people I hear from time to time saying things as if they would embrace dictatorships and so on. No, we must love freedom and we must push for freedom. Yeah. Arlene says we can't wait for you to take over. Too much corruption and wickedness. Yes, thank you. I can't wait either for us to fix this thing. Irrespective of how the media feels about the movement, I honestly think they should try and get with them because, like it or not, they have a big influence on society. Yes, cool guy, but we're not going to change that. The media has its agenda, and we can't change their agenda. Their agenda is to make sure Jamaica remains in the hands of the two major political parties. And our agenda is to get around that. And the way to get around that is for us to get to the people at the grassroots level, and that's what we're doing. So let's forget about them and focus on what we need to do. We need to, you and I, all of us, need to be involved in reaching the people where they are. You telling everybody you know, you helping us to fund the movement and let us reach the people. That is the only way we're going to do it. The media will never help us. They have a vested interest to keep Jamaica the way Jamaica is. And we have a vested interest to change that. Our goal is to make Jamaica something better. Their goal is to keep Jamaica the way it is. Will retroactive justice be applied to those corrupted politicians? Not sure what you mean by retroactive justice, but what I can say is that we will definitely prosecute as many of those we can find that have engaged in corruption, costing Jamaica billions of dollars. Where did that pastor get that information that Mr. Patterson does not embrace the church? I never heard him speak against anyone except anyone has God-given right to choose. That's true, Graham. Sometimes some people like to create a case where there isn't any. Um, I'm actually quite turned off. I don't see why there's a necessity to say that I don't embrace the church. Where is that coming from? What do you need me to do to go and pay penance and to spend every waking moment saying that I love Jesus and that I want everybody to become a Christian? Is that what he needs? We need to stop that kind of foolishness. Let people choose what they want to do with their lives from a religious perspective. I'm not here to push any particular religion. I'm not here to, I will never do that. I have my own personal faith and beliefs, and they're mine to have. We're talking about governing a country here. We're not talking about pushing up a religious agenda. The church must be able to push its own agenda, and any church which needs the state to push its agenda is a church you need to run away from. Any church that needs to use politicians to push their agenda, you need to run away from that church. It's a dangerous place. Okay? A true church understands that it does not need the help of the state. What it does want, though, is to make sure that the state does not infringe on the rights and freedoms of citizens to worship as they choose. Yeah? So that's very important. I can't believe there are people out there who believe in authoritarian society. Move to another country, please. Yeah, if you believe in that, move to China. I would never like to live in China. I've been to China and I was like, my God, this is just unbelievable. I do not want somebody monitoring my every turn, my every move. Do you want that? I don't want a government deciding what I should eat and what I should drink and what I should wear. I don't want that. So we don't need that kind of stuff here in Jamaica. We want a country that is truly free, a country that every person can become who they want to be based on their abilities and their own interests. That's how we learn. That's how we have new inventions. That's how we'll have new developments. Yeah. When we allow people to be themselves, when we allow people to create and to think creatively and to come up with new ideas and give us new interpretations and so on. We need to have a marketplace of ideas, a marketplace, a mosaic of ideas. You know, sorry. Mr. Patterson, did you see the video of the Canadian diplomat named Mario Stinger criticizing Jamaican society about its many problems? If so, what do you think about his criticism? Honestly, I didn't see the video. I heard about it, but I wasn't keen on even following it up. The key thing is we know who we are. We have enough to criticize ourselves about. Let us focus on fixing our country and not waste time with such individuals. Someone wanted to know how you'll pay off the Chinese. Whoops, I missed that. Will you work with the fourth political party, JPP? That's Howard Foster asking. Uh, I'm not too sure what you mean by work with. The purpose of all political parties is to win government to implement their plans and ideas. So if any of the other parties suddenly change their minds about their objective and wish to embrace the UIC's objective of creating a non-partisan constitutional republic, then we'll be more than happy to work with them. Other than that, it's impossible for me to tell you if I'll work with any of them because I don't know what if they have a change of objective. If their objective is still what their objective is and it is not in sync with our objective, then there's nothing to work with, really, to be honest. Sending enough respect and manners blessings to Jamaican Carlos. Big respect to you, Carlos. Coming from Arlene Foster. Yeah, man. Big up Carlos. He has been a tremendous force for good in the blogger space out there. Uh, Bishop Cameron said, I blame myself though. Serve me right. I shouldn't have been here. Bishop, come on, stop being childish. My comment is very clear and very straightforward, right? You brought up this issue about me not embracing the church. You should never have done that. So stop this foolishness. We're not going to entertain it here. If you don't want to be a part of the UIC, that is okay. That is quite fine. We're not forcing anybody to be a part of the UIC movement, but we're not going to play games either. So don't play this game about the UIC or me not embracing the church. I embrace every single civil society group in Jamaica that is for the protection of our rights and freedom as a people. So if your organization respects that principle, if your organization believes in protecting the rights and freedoms of Jamaicans, then this is the place for you. If, on the other hand, you want the UIC to treat any particular church special and pursue their particular objective, then you have a problem because the UIC will not do that. The purpose of government is not to advance any particular religion or to prohibit any particular religion. So if your church or any church is serious about religious liberty, religious freedom, the right to worship, and you want to make sure that that is protected, then the UIC is the movement to be a part of. If, on the other hand, your goal is to use the UIC as some means to advance the church's objectives outside of religious liberty for all, then the UIC is not the place to be. It's that simple. All right? Uh, Jamaica crashed used vehicle says, I agree with allowing government to be government and church to be church as long as your religion doesn't enact harm on another person. Thank you. What ridiculous was made towards you? You responded to your questions. Thank you. Exactly. UIC not buying any one vote or much love the same. Liberty as you propose it will be harmful, especially to the meek. Somebody addressing Misha earlier on that. I wish I saw what she said. What are your plans to tackle all trash in Jamaica? I recently watched a video of Grand Market and the trash in the street was shocking. Yes, it's very simple how we're going to address the trash. We're going to simply have a clean Jamaica. It's going to be a policy that the country should be clean, and there will be a public works department with a plan, with staff, with people, with a program, a schedule that ensures that all of our streets, from St. James to St. Thomas and Portland, from Hanover to Trelawney, from St. Mary to Manchester, all parishes, all communities will be kept clean. And we will have a policy to make sure that our streets, our roads are maintained on schedule and using proper engineering so that they last long. And we're also going to ensure that we have sidewalks and that those sidewalks are adorned with nice grass, beautiful flowers and trees, and that those are also maintained and that they're maintained on schedule. We're going to ensure that Jamaica is one of, if not the cleanest country in the world. We're going to have a Jamaica where from east to west and north to south, it looks like a tourist resort. Not for tourists, but for Jamaicans. And by extension, we'll have a flood of tourists coming to enjoy community tourism across our island. So that's the plans we have for having a clean Jamaica. All right. So we're now at the 1.5 hour mark, and I'm going to have to leave you now. But let me just say thanks for all of you who participated in our discourse. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your contribution. I know I've upset some of you, I know I made some of you upset in the process. My goodly friend, the bishop, and others, but don't feel bad. The bottom line is, you see, the UIC, we're not here to play politics. We're not here to play games. We're very serious about fixing Jamaica. We're very serious about having a safe, clean, and orderly Jamaica where every single citizen can live, earn, and retire with dignity. We're very serious about protecting your individual rights, your sovereignty, your right to your life, your liberty, and your property. We're very, very serious about getting rid of the system that now obtains, which is undermining us as a country and destroying our economy and preventing us from being the best that we can possibly be. We are going to get rid of and replace the existing constitution, which is a fake constitution, which created a fake independence, and we're going to have a truly non-partisan constitutional republic that we can all be proud of. It will be Jamaica will be the one true republic on the face of the earth, the one true free country that everybody else around the world will want to come to. We're going to have to issue visa for people to come here when the UIC is finished designing a real new Jamaica. And so it behooves us all to join hands together, to come together, to do the unthinkable of funding our own party. This will be the first indigenous Jamaican party coming out of the bowels of the people, created by the people, for the people, funded by the people, where we the people volunteer, we the people donate, and we the people vote for the change that we want. No more being misled by those who are conditioned and controlled by our colonial masters. But for the first time, we're going to have a Jamaica that is truly owned and operated by Jamaicans for the interest of all Jamaicans. So thank you very much. Have a good night. Until we talk again. Take care.